Good evening, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us. This is episode number 5 of Top Deck Radio, which I am calling Shards, the Defense Builder. Today's date is Monday, May 21st, a little bit after 7 p.m. Central Time because I live in Minnesota. I'm going to use my own timeline and make the rest of you convert. As always, I got Hex Manifesto with me, steering the
Hello,
ship.
guys.
How are you doing today?
Doing well.
Excellent. So, not a super thick week in terms of new items to talk about, but the few items we do have are pretty meaty topics. And I should have thought this through a little bit better and pulled up the Hex TCG. I have like 10 browsers open, and the one browser I forget to grab is the article for signature decks. So I've got the article up here, and I'm going to switch us over to internet mode, and I'm just going to keep running it like this. So the signature decks return, and Manny, you want to fill folks in on a couple of these?
Oh, yeah. Let me also get it up because we're reading this. The text a little smaller on that one than your normal. Normal.
You don't really have to read the article verbatim, but just kind of hit the main points.
Well, in that case, we got 3 signature decks added to Hex TCG in the last update. They are basically tier 0.5 decks, I would say. They're not quite tier 1, but they're all based heavily around tier 1 meta decks. We have, and I don't want to mess up the names, which is why I was bringing up the thing, but it was...
Nero's Momentum Mastery is the first one that's shown in the article.
Nero Generous, or Nero Generous, known around here, with his big heart, put together a momentum deck that runs Trip Goldfathers, Leprechaun Artists, Wax Shots, Pathfinders, Pipit Pals, Jubilant Jousters as its troops, and then a little bit of removal and ramp, and Double Merry Caravan, and 3 Frostlocks to take place of the Seekers and the big removal. It is that's the one I have bought so far. It had the most of the things that I did not already have, so I picked it up. It's a steal for a price, obviously. There's some mixed feelings about that in the community. It did knock the value of some very high-valued cards down a bit, but overall, I mean, they're all solid decks. I actually played that in the bash, not it clean. I added the rest of the tier 1 cards to it to make it basically the staple momentum deck, but you can basically buy this deck, add 8 cards to it, and have a tier 1 deck. 8, maybe 9 cards.
Yeah, I think my deck different. I mean, if you ignore the rare shards, the momentum deck I run from this, the only difference is a couple Eldorathian's Glory, a few Eternal Seekers, and then the Brilliant Annihilix. So yeah, 3 cards. You can live without the rare resources.
I mean, you can, but it's good.
But you can, but I don't have to because I have them already. So.
Oh yeah. Up next we have Snake. Snake debuted a refuel deck called Refuel's Rampage. It runs, and this might be the other one I get because I need the Phoenixes. 3 Boltwing Phoenixes, 4 Bursters, 3 Acolytes of Flame, 1 Fatal Few Alpha, 3 Flare Fiends, 3 Promiscuous Succubuses, and 4 Replipoppers. Oh, and 4 Zomboids as its troops. Actions, you got a little hand refill, a good bit of removal, and of course refuel. Mm-hmm. And resources, you do get 4 of the blood drop resources in this one. Unlike the momentum one, you do not get the drop resource in, so there's 4 more rare resources hiding in there. So overall, good value. I mean, again, I believe Boltwing Phoenix was pretty high up there, and the Replipoppers were quickly climbing up there as well.
Yeah, their value. I think I saw they were over 750 plat at one point. They were getting pretty into ridiculous.
Poppers?
Yeah, the poppers were getting into pretty ridiculous heights.
Honestly, this one's probably the closest to its tier 1 counterpart, though there's a lot of different ones. I mean, there are some that people are running Matriarch of Flame, which is obviously a pretty pricey thing to add to it, but I think as far as the 3 decks naked, Snakes probably does the latter the best. At least it's fast, so you don't have those long games. If I was a completely new player and I wanted to ladder, I would probably buy Snake's deck, followed closely behind by Nero's. But it does refuel stuff. It's very efficient. It's a very efficient aggro deck that you can ladder quickly with and not not have to wait a long time. You take your losses fast, you take your wins fast. So
yeah, get in, get out. Of course.
And then last, but certainly not least, from the land down under, we have Havoc, bringing us a Rowdy Sugar Rush signature deck. It's kind of... This one I think is the most different because I think its base deck probably had the most cards that are about to rotate out. You can tell because there's an interesting choice there in Pocket Army in it. The rest of the troops, Rowdy Piper, Brosie's Bouncer, Dreamsmoke Diva, Pipit Hustler, Caravan Cannoneer, Heartsworn Caller, and 4 actual Grapes of Wrath in the main deck. Actions, Double Sugar Rush, 4 Rune Bind, which is nice except for the fact that that's one of the prizes right now, the alternate art Rune Bind. 3 Prison of the Mind, 1 Dream Call, and no rare resources, just your basics and 2 roots. I feel like this is the most different one, not to say that's a bad thing. Brosie's Bouncer is definitely a fun card to use, even though that's not running. It's in the tier 1 version of this.
I love Brosie's Bouncer. It's also a payoff for all those pocket armies, is you're upgrading them into something bigger.
Exactly. It has a different type of synergy. It's not a Sugar Rush deck. It's not supposed to infinite combo. Obviously, it doesn't have the Eyes of the Heart in it, so you're not going infinite turns with it. It's kind of a different kind of Sugar Rush, kind of transform, Rowdy/transform mechanics. So definitely good. I mean, Havoc. I mean, they're all great deck builders. I have not actually played this list. I played both the other lists because I already had the cards for the review one, so I just played it just to see. But I did not play this one. But I'm sure it's fine. There's no doubt in my mind that it works.
Yeah, I kind of see Yassi's point. Yassi's saying I don't think people would have as much of a problem with it if it wasn't called a Sugar Rush deck, given there's only 2 Sugar Rush in there. And
yeah.
I think at this point when people are thinking Sugar Rush, they're thinking of like the turns type shenanigans that Ollie, among others, had been pulling off. And this isn't that, but this does have a... I mean, it knows what its theme is, and it plays to its theme well. You want to keep working your way up the Rowdy chain, and then trying to transform things for some payoff. And Prison of the Mind is a very good include there. I don't know that card gets appreciated just enough for how amazing a card it is.
Yeah, but regardless of which you choose, you're definitely getting way more than $25 worth of what was previously more than $25 of value worth of cards. Now, obviously, they're all starting to come down because of these decks, but you're getting plenty for your $25. Any of these can definitely climb you to ladder. I would be hard pressed with a little time and a couple losses. I'm sure anyone could go from bronze to cosmic with any of these 3 decks. So.
Yeah,
they're great for new people. They're great if you're a player like me and just I just lucked out and I got some Gold Fathers. I got 2 more Exalted Pathfinders I needed to finish my play set. So like that one, I mean, everyone might not find value in them, but I feel like a good amount of players probably found some value in these one way or another. Even if it was just not money value, but hey, you had a friend that wanted to get the Hex, and now you had a good reason to tell them that they could get into it for $25, which is what, an indie game on Steam. So,
well, and that's actually exactly what happened for me over the weekend. Because while my buddy was here, I was showing him all the new changes in Hex, and walking him through C-Sacks and coins and all the new stuff that had come out. And I showed him those decks and kind of walked him through what each kind was, and he thought the Momentum deck would look closest to his playstyle. So I basically took my tier 1 deck and I just explained to him which cards aren't included. We went through the Frostring Arena with it just so I could show him how it plays. Completely wrecked with it. And then, he was a free-to-play PvE only player, but he played through the campaign once and was like, okay, that's fun, but I don't really feel any need to play this over and over 100 times with a bunch of characters or anything. And he wasn't enjoying the Frost Ring Arena at all because that was back in version 2.0, kind of before they made the most recent balance changes on it. Back when it was at its absolute brutal hardest peak, and he gets slaughtered with the stuff he had every time he went into tier 2, and just didn't feel like he had a good enough toehold, into anything to kind of get into the competitive scene without spending more money than he felt was fair just to get started. So that kind of dropped him out of the game. But when he saw that deck and how good it was, he was like, all right, I'm in. So he bought that deck, and I don't think he's actually played people with it yet, but I know he's done some Frost Ring Arena runs with it to start just kind of dipping his toes into how that works. And he's somebody who has spent lots of money on other mobile games and stuff. Like, he's not afraid to put the money in, but needs to feel that his time is being respected and that he's getting a fair kind of onboarding introduction and being able to hold his own for a while before he's being asked to further invest. And that $25 one shot for the momentum deck was totally a good entry point in for him now. So he's back and in action. So I can say at least directly the signature decks have brought in one person who had previously played the game and said, nope, I'm done.
We did it.
Hooray.
Great success.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into this too long because people can go and read the article for themselves, but there is a article up about By Havoc digging into his deck that includes some upgrade paths and some other things that you can do with it, so it's worth reading through to kind of better understand his thought process on the deck. And we know that there should also be articles incoming by Snake for his deck and describing how that works. And Nero, I would assume, as well for the momentum deck. So each one of those decks is going to have an article about it and how it works and upgrade paths.
Yep.
Yeah, my one wish with these starter decks, and I know there's two minds on this. I'm of the camp I really wish they'd announced these before the patch and they were out in the store. Other people go, it doesn't matter, as soon as they announce it, the prices are going to tank anyway, and that's true. And I don't really care. I'm of the mind you announce your product and you let your customers know what it is before you're selling it, no matter what it is. You've hyped up your battle boards and you've let people know some of that stuff before it comes out. You let us know what battle boards are going to be in the store before they've come out. You have a whole spoiler season dedicated to what the next set is before we're starting to buy that. Why did you ambush us with these decks? And so I want them to say something about that, just to set expectations going forward on, okay, how often are we going to see signature decks? Are these going to be an every set thing? Are these going to be every 2 sets? How late into the life of a set can we expect to see signature decks, so that they're not all of a sudden out of a blue, but are a product that people can plan around? Because if you know something's coming, you will spend your money on that deck if, hey, as soon as the set comes out, here's these 2 new cool decks, I want to buy one. And maybe they won't be of the level of value we see here, but I'm all about setting some expectations for folks about what you're selling. And I think I know I was your typical forum user, and I got a little bit salty in the forums when I bought 2 Boltwing Phoenix for $10 a pop, and then a week later that deck came out. But so I did have a little bit of salt on that, but that's really not the thrust of my reasoning for thinking they need to be announced. It's expectation management just amongst the community on when something like this is going to show up.
Yeah, I feel like since they use no cards that will rotate, it's pretty safe to assume we're not going to get another, at least not a bunch. Maybe you get like just 1 signature deck added when the next set comes out, but I feel like that's the protection there. That one, you don't want anyone to buy a deck that you're going to lose any cards to immediately, and 2, now they don't have to really worry about doing another one soon.
Yeah, replays with me. Okay with the collector decks being dropped randomly, but think the signature deck should have been announced in advance. I'm kind of like mind. Collector deck is nobody really takes those on the ladder. I don't think. I still think those should be announced too, just for consistency. But if I'm gonna pick my battle, I think it's more important to announce the signature deck than a collector deck.
What's up, Crafty Dog? I love Crafty's interesting chat join messages.
But yes, that's the basics for the signature decks. The other new piece of news we have is the rotation of the Merry Melee, and Manifesto's favorite format in the history of Hex. Who's the boss? Tell us all about this mode.
Who's the Boss is a wonderful casual format that Hex Entertainment released recently, where you and an opponent get pit against each other, and you get random elite bosses from the Frostring Arena to fight against each other. It's super fair, totally balanced, and worth every second of your day. Did I do it? Did I get through it?
The sarcasm is so thick you can cut it with a knife.
All right, I might be in. This might be entering, territory where I don't have. My opinion is not what everyone else's opinion is, though I'm sure I have some people in my camp. When I saw Who's the Boss, I got really excited. I really liked the idea. I really liked watching the devs play it. But you couldn't tell because someone else was experiencing it. It's so imbalanced. I've played enough, and I've watched enough other people play it, and I think I'm probably safe to say I can call the outcome of any match 8 out of 10 times from the champ screen. And it's not that it's not fun, it's just not fun. I know it's meant to be a casual mode, and it's not expensive to play in, and you get sleeves, and you have a chance of rewards. It's just...
But to be fair to the devs, they never once pretended that it was a balanced
That's true.
mode.
They never
On their dev streams, they straight up said, "We haven't balanced this at all." It's just,
yes.
Here you go, have fun with it.
It's exactly what Strumward just said. I don't think should like that. Like Cornus randomness was a lot of randomness, but there was a little bit of skill involved. You could still pick good cards, and you could still have come from behind victories, and stuff could still happen. But this mode is just different. Like the elite, we all know the elite FRA bosses are hard because we fought them all, and you think, oh well, if I get an elite boss and they get an elite boss, there should be some type of almost balance there, but there just isn't. There's just some bosses that are just straight better, and there's some bosses that are just straight counter to other bosses. And I think if this is the road they want to go down, where they're just going to put stuff in the game that already exists in the game and call it a mode and not do any balancing or anything, I would rather remove the prizes, remove the game prize, the win 3, win 4, win 5 prizes, change the entry cost to gold, and just chase the sleeves. Because I'm gonna eventually get 10 wins because I want the sleeves. We all are. I mean, not all, but the royal all. Most of us that are collectors are going to suffer through the 10 game wins and get the sleeves. I would rather just pay gold, play it, and get the sleeves. If I was having as much fun with Cornith as I was with this, $1 isn't a lot. But I was also paying $1 to have 3 to 7-ish matches of fun, plus a possibility of rewards, plus eventually getting sleeves. And now I'm just suffering through mostly 2 and 3. Like my runs, I think, have been 1 and 3, 2 and 3, 2 and 3. And then maybe a 3 and 3 or another 2 and 3. Like, it's just, it's been brutal.
Yeah, I've played 3 runs. I went 3 and 3 and then 1 and 3 in the other 2 runs. So I'm only 5 wins towards the sleeve.
Yeah, exactly. Same, but I think I'm 5 or maybe 6. And that's just my opinion. It may not be popular opinion, but I feel like Cornith had thought put into it, and this mode just didn't. And then you can even tell, because even when we had Cornith mode, and when they found out some things were just breaking the mode, they banned those cards from it. And this is just kind of like, I know they can't do that as easily because these decks are pre-made and they're in the game already, but I don't know. There's like the the deck that can't be buried versus the bury champ. Like they could, I feel like there's a way they could just not make that matchup happen. Like if you get X, you can't. The opponent can't be Y Y Y Y Y. So
yeah, it's.
I'm done. I'm done with my tirade on the Merry Melee mode.
Yeah,
But like I said, I wanted it to be fun, and the idea is sound. It's just it needs a little bit of balancing because there's just too many mismatches.
Well, that's something they could address in the next iteration of it. If they bring it back,
Yeah.
just collect feedback. I'm totally okay with them using the Merry Melee for some highly experimental concepts, even while they're charging us a $1 admission price. I don't resent that. I know there's a lot of I don't want to pay $1 in the forums out there, but it's totally up to you. I was happy to pay in $1 every Corinth run because I love that. This one, thankfully this only runs a week, and we should be talking about a different Merry Melee mode next week. But yeah, I think after 3, maybe 4 gauntlets, I probably would have had my fill on this one for now.
Yeah. I think my worst so far was I got the champ that gives all troops rage, and my opponent got Jovial Pipit with Locket in play. You can imagine what my turn 3, 4 board state looked like. It was pretty bad.
I had a couple games I folded on by turn 3 because I was like, all right, we're done. We know. We all know where this is going.
Concubunny, Root. Was it Wild Root Dancer Elite? I mean, it's all the same elites. Like it's the same as like when I play through the Frost Arena. When I see those elite bosses come up, and I'm just like, this is gonna be rough. It's just like the same, except I don't even know what's in my deck. Like I look at the same Root Dancer, and I'm like, well, this is gonna suck. I also have no idea what I'm playing. Like, you can't rely on knowing your deck well and possibly beating it.
Yeah, I've played the Frost Ring a bunch, but you can put any of those champs in front of me, and I only have the vaguest notion of what I'm getting, what I'm supposed to be doing when I'm behind the wheel, actually piloting them. Any final thoughts on Merry Melee? Otherwise, I don't know that was a topic we were planning a whole lot of time for tonight.
Nope, not for me. Though I do urge everyone to at least play a gauntlet and see it for yourself. Don't take my word as gospel, because some people may find it really fun, and you may also just have a better experience than I do. I feel like if my first run had been a 5-0, I would have felt a lot better about it, but I got slammed a lot, so.
Yeah, so then we'll dig into. We didn't really have much for community news. I'm going to bring up one item, which is both community news / my hot take for the week, which is kind of piggybacking on my hot take from last week or the week beforehand. I think it was. I think it was probably last week with Vestris when Vestris was on. But that's that. My post in the forums that I believe now is a good time for Hex to give us a state of the game address. We've had a lot of good changes to the game over the last few weeks. We have Cosmic Coins, we have Siege Sacks, we have new Precon decks, we have the Merry Melee. There's a lot of things going on right now that the devs could hang their hat on and say, here's a cool thing we just did. Here's a cool thing we just did. Here's a cool thing we just did. And from there, springboard into here's what we already did. Now let us tell you about our near-term vision on what's coming in the back half of 2018, and really get into the position of being more full frontal with us about what their thought process is here, because I don't think their existing method, and I'm not alone in this, people have been saying this for years, their existing method of communication is not working for them, and they need to stop thinking of themselves as a boxed game company and, here's our thing, we're going to talk about when it's done, and really lean into the fact that they are a live video game or games as a service or whatever, crap flavor of the month video game term applies to games like this, and accept the fact that there needs to be ongoing communication with your user base about the state of your service and what people can expect as they continue to engage in your service. Because otherwise, no news can create the impression nothing's coming, can create the impression that your game is dead, and from the top down, Hex Entertainment's done very little about expectation management or setting the tone in discourse. So they're letting people kind of spin themselves around in circles, always assuming the worst. Which, if they just very easily got in front of that and said, "Here's where our head is at," so much of that could be avoided. I put a couple other suggestions in here that I'd like to see their dev streams talk about actual development stuff from time to time, because the chat represents a focus group of Hex players right there, ready to offer them feedback on anything that they are considering. Why don't you tap that resource? It's a pretty effortless way to get some feedback on things, and just get more involved. So that's kind of my hot take. If anybody else posts in this forum, try to keep it even keel and respectful, because I want, for whatever value my voice has, whatever this megaphone of Top Deck Radio is worth, I want it to be taken seriously and not become just yet another salt bag thread. Because despite the fact that, if we're being honest, this post has an embarrassingly high number of typos from me as an English major, and I'm ashamed, and I should go back and edit it. I think I'm pretty level-headed in my approach. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I do want to, as many times as I have to, kind of kick the tires and say, "Hey, come on, guys, let's." The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And maybe it's time to change course.
How am I supposed to get you hired as Hexent's new publicity person if you put all those typos out there, man? I can only do so much.
If it was an official communique, I would have bothered to put a little more time into proofreading that.
They're all official communiques. They're on.
Yeah. I hope Hex doesn't actually have anybody whose job title is communications director, because if so, then what communications are they directing?
Oh, snaps!
I feel like all of that is all of that falls under Dinotropy. I think that's Dino's job. But structurally, I'm not sure how much they actually let him say. Which, normally you think your community manager is one of the most, outspoken face of the community type people. And, if you ever have questions for Dino, he always answers them. He's great about that stuff. So I'm not in any way trashing him. It's just...
Yeah, he's good.
It's, structurally speaking, I don't think Hex allows him to do what I would like to see him doing as a community manager. So... he's very cool in my book. I'm not saying a bad thing about him. It's just, like I said, company procedures I would like to see change. That's my hot take for the week. But then into general discussion topics. 1 week ago today, we were talking about Cosmic Coins and Siege Sacks, and I was concerned that my prediction might not make it for when they would land. And the very next day, they patched. So
he didn't, guys. Round of applause for Thrawn.
Woo. Yeah, I take no credit for that. Except that my prediction that they'd be out by the 19th was correct, but I didn't think they'd drop less than 24 hours after we were talking about things. But yeah, so we have had almost a week to play around with the new currency. What are your thoughts thus far about Cosmic Coins and Siege Sacks?
Well, let's start with Cosmic Coins. Cosmic Coins are great. I've probably farmed like 3 packs so far. I haven't been hitting the ladder super hard. I've been kind of more on the siege train for right now. But as far as an incentive to keep playing on the ladder after you've reached Cosmic and you're a person who's not really pushing for those top 64 spots, I think it's accomplished what it went out to do. I know I've seen in multiple Discords people saying things like, this is the first time I've really wanted to ladder after hitting Cosmic, that it's like just enough, like it's enough of a grind that it doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff to grind for, but at the same time, they have something to grind for, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, you could easily go overboard, basically is what I'm saying. Like, you could look at it like this insurmountable amount of stuff that you're never going to get all of by the end of whenever these prizes rotate out. So I think what am I trying, like, it's a reasonable expectation as someone who's a medium to plays a lot that you will probably obtain all, if not most, of the prizes by just now continuing to play the ladder as opposed to stopping.
Yeah, for me, I posted on the forums, and I fully believe that for me, the advent of cosmic coins is a game changer. It's a huge deal because previously in the latter seasons, I made it to cosmic less than half the time because I just didn't really care. And when I got to cosmic, I had no incentive to play because I wasn't going to try to grind up the top 64. I had no Cosmic Crown Showdown aspirations, so what's the point? And now finally there is kind of a little carrot dangling out there to go for to reward continued play. And so what I've been doing, and I'm planning to actually officially stream this for the first time tomorrow because I have tomorrow off. I can connect my PC into my 65-inch Sony TV that you can see behind me here, and I have the ability to play Hex from my treadmill using a wireless PC Xbox 360 controller. So I have been playing matches of at the cosmic level and earning coins while also giving my fat butt some exercise.
Woo!
And I played
Stream.
the first time I tried it, I played a couple matches. I walked over 2 miles. I burned over 500 calories, and I didn't even feel like I was exercising.
That's great, dude.
When I started getting blisters on my feet, then I was like, okay, you know what? I need to stop until my stamina improves for these sorts of things. But now I have motivation to keep playing and walking. So, I mean, and I need stuff like that. I'm not even kidding. I conservatively have 75 pounds of weight I need to lose. And I mean, you can just tell right here with my nice fat neck. So anything that motivates me is great. And so I cannot, specifically the cosmic coins, because we'll get to siege sacks. But specifically for cosmic coins, I have nothing bad to say. I'm in total love with the idea of being able to grind out and having those extra carrots to keep playing for.
I agree. Good job, Hex.
But yeah, the other side of the coin, though, just like we have stuff for continuing to play in the ladder, we now have a new currency to get some swag from Siege. So, Manifesto the Filthy Sniper, tell us about how sacks have been working for you.
We're going to start with this, that we're going to keep chat civil.
Strummer, oh boy, here we go.
We got mods in chat. I'm not afraid. This isn't the forums. This is our show. So think of it as coming into our house and having a conversation with us. And you're all here. We're not. We treat you guys with respect. Expect the same way. That being said, Siege has had a new currency added to it as well. They're called Siege Sacks. Your defense starts with 0. Over time, I believe you get 1 per hour, and every time you successfully defend off a defender, you are added, from what I can tell and what most of the community can tell, is a random number, I believe. It seems to be like around 15-ish, but it could be more, it could be less. There could be things that we don't realize that's changing the number, like the number of times. There might be like is it always 15, Shosny? Like, no matter what? Like, even if it like goes straight undefeated X number of times, it's always undefeated.
Bunch of people saying 15 per win.
All right, well that's 15, but only from the second attack onwards. Yes. So the first attack does nothing. I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to be like that. I would like to say it seems weird. It just seems like a weird mechanic. Like, why wouldn't the first defense count? But I don't know. I don't know if that's supposed to be stopping people from doing something specific. I'm not a genius, but anyway. That being said, and then once your siege is defeated, both the attacker and the defender get the same number of siege sacks. So if your siege sack count is 60, and someone beats your siege, the attacker gets 60, and you get 60. That's pretty much how it works. The siege sacks are just like cosmic coins in the fact where there is a separate part of the store that you go to. You can buy siege packs, which contain alternate art PvP cards, new PvE cards, equipment for PvE cards, sleeves, right? Yeah, the shard sleeves and alternate art shards are the things you can acquire. You can save it up and also get a new alternate animated, I guess you call it, coin and a battle board.
Yep. And
Um,
I forget whose chat I was in. I think maybe it was Snakes. I think Paladon, who's, if I recall correctly, Kyle Hoyer, one of the producers. I had
mhm.
asked about those shards and when they drop. You know, because I was wondering if if the AA shards were the thing that dropped once you've literally got everything else, or if they are
It's not.
and they're not. They're
Yeah.
interspersed at any time. And there's two. I know there's two schools of thought on the shards. Some people are like, just give me the shards. I don't want any of this other stuff. And I'm of the mind, I don't want those shards until I've got literally everything else. So,
Mhm.
right, I haven't opened any shards yet, but I'm gonna be kind of sad if I do until I've got all of the
It's,
stuff that has
oh
actual
yeah,
gameplay ramifications to it.
replay did add. I did forget 2 mercenaries as well. Um, I still, and someone can probably confirm this by now, you can get more than 4 AA shards, right? I feel like I read that you can get shards forever once, like you've got obtained everything else, just every pack will be a shard. But now I feel like I'm doubting myself. I actually read that somewhere. So does anyone have more than 4 AA? Shosni says yes, infinite. So I didn't think I was crazy. I thought I
Yeah,
was right. That's
yeah,
good.
replay is saying that the shards are considerably rarer, so that they are weighted, I guess, towards being near the end, which is
And then
how I personally would want it.
yeah, and then because then you kind of know, like once you open like 4 or 5 packs in a row and have shards, you're like, yeah, I've got everything. Like you pretty much know. Um, Now I guess we should talk about things we like and don't like about this. Would you like to go first?
Sure. So what I like is that it gives me a reason to post a keep again. Before siege sacks came around, I the last several weeks I never posted. I almost never posted defenses anymore because I would post decks, and within the first attack or two, they usually would get wrecked, and I'm just out gold, and I didn't feel like it was worth my time to keep reposting it. Like from the defender's side, it didn't feel like a rewarding experience to me because I just didn't want to I wanted to brew myself. I didn't want to look up whatever insanity Coach Flipperon has already come up with or somebody else. You know, I didn't really want to try to net deck for that. I wanted to do my own thing. So it didn't feel rewarding for me to completely get rocked over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Where now I don't mind posting a siege defense at the minimum because if I'm out 500 gold or something, I'm still probably getting some sacks because nobody's bothering to attack me until I have some sacks, and we'll get to that part of things, I'm sure. But I don't mind giving up 500 gold for 30, 50 siege sacks towards some stuff. I mean, that small amount of gold is nothing. I can go and get that plus much more off the arena very quickly and easily. So I'd say the one nice thing is I have a reason to be defending again.
Okay.
Do you have any? And I don't want to like talk too long. You got any nice
No,
things you
you
like
can
about
talk.
it?
Is that all your nice things?
It's the first one that came to my head. I'll probably have another, but that was
All
the
right.
most obvious one for me.
Well, yes. For starters, I obviously, for better or worse, and however you're doing it, the introduction of siege stacks has at least made its first goal possible, and its first goal was to get people playing siege. So on that front, it was successful. I would say more people are in fact playing siege. I think last time I checked, there's 25 pages of
Yep.
siege defenses up right now, which
Yep.
is over double what it was right before siege sacks came out. Um, I like the rewards. I like the fact that they are account bound. I feel like that was a good call.
They need to be, and we'll get into some obvious reasons for why.
Um, but yeah, I think the implement. I think what siege sacks are is good. I think they are doing their job. I think that we will now transition to some of the things that we don't agree with, which is the implementation and how they actually work.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's where Hex Manifesto, what is a siege sack? A siege sack is the currency that they gave to Siege, which is basically the equivalent of the Cosmic Coin for Constructed Ladder, or for the ladder.
I'm pulling up my client. Theoretically, we're just seeing a black screen for some reason, so I may have to switch this back. This is supposed to be my Hex. This is supposed to be Hex, and okay, for some reason that's not popping up. I'm gonna have to address that before we show off what our cards are. But yeah, basically, you know, the longer Siege is up, the more the currency you are getting. That is used towards purchasing stuff from the store.
All right. So a few of the things that are in the probably we're going to go with not negative, but should probably be addressed, at least in our own individual opinions.
Don't worry about the black screen, folks. I'm trying to fix it.
The Siege sack should not start at 0. I don't think Siege sack starting at 0 is good. Also, if they're going to start at whatever they're going to start, because the minimum is going to be the minimum. If they start at 10, 10's the new 0. It's just like, that's just how it's going to be. People are going to want to attack the sieges that have the most to be gained. So making the argument that the Siege sack starting at 0 is bad is true, but on the other hand, it's not. If they start everyone's sieges at 20 or 10 or 15, you're still not going to get your sieges attacked anymore because people are going to be looking for the 60s and 70s and 80s. You're still not getting it's not going to help bring attackers to your defense, to your keeps. I do think that one siege sack an hour is way too low. It should be like a siege sack per 10 minutes at like the minimum. Six sacks an hour with no one touching your siege is one, not a lot, and two, one an hour is nothing. Like if you're on page 25 here of Misters, I've never been attacked, and I have 10 pages of people who've also never been attacked ahead of me. I mean, I'm looking, there's a whole page of zeros, there's a whole 2 pages of 1s, a page of 2s, a page of 3s, a page of 4s, 2 pages of 6s, and then it starts picking up 7s, there's 9s, even 10.
13 out of the 25 pages of live sieges right now have 0 wins.
Exactly. So
half.
I'm saying, I would say 1 per 10 minutes should be the absolute minimum. I'd say even 1 per 5 minutes is probably 5. I mean, 1 per minute's probably too many, 60 sieges for it just being up for an hour, but even then, maybe not with just the amount of activity Hex currently has. Like, they could always change in the future. Like, if, as we all like in the future, that Hex has thousands and thousands of players, yeah, that might be too much. But right now, my siege is sat for easily hours without being attacked, so it would be nice if by the time that first person got to it, it already had, 60 sacks. So 1 per 5 minutes, that gives you what? 12 sacks an hour. So say you post your siege and your siege doesn't see any action for 3 hours. The first person shows up in 3 hours, so they got 36 siege sacks. Seems decent.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be a stronger initial payout, I think, because otherwise, right now it is just sieges, sitting in limbo for hours and hours and hours until they've built up enough sacks to be worth it. Mm-hmm. Because it's a blind risk going in. You don't know if you're going to actually be able to beat somebody or if you're going to get your face, wiped across the floor. And plus the fact that first, that slow build up plus that first attack doesn't contribute anything really kind of disincentivizes attackers and wanting to go first. It's like, why do I want to go first? I'm putting up my gold to enrich the next person who's going to come along to try to fight this thing if I lose. Why do I want to be the icebreaker on somebody's siege with the way things are set up right now?
And like I said, I'm pretty sure that's not working as intended. I mean, obviously, Hex hasn't said anything, but if I was a betting man or a guessing man in this case, I don't see any reason why the first attack isn't counting. So now let's go into what the community has done to. So that's where we are. That's how the system is working. That's, for as far as we know, everything is working as intended because we haven't been told it otherwise. So now the community has taken it upon itself. All right, and let's start even before I say that.
Yes. Why
The
would
sleeves-
people want to do what you're about to discuss in the first
Yes.
place, Manifesto?
The
Don't get ahead of yourself.
sleeves say on them, Siege Sack or Siege Chest Sleeves 2018. In my mind, that means that that we're not getting different sleeves for the year, so they probably won't even rotate all of the prizes for the year. So this could be what Siege Sacks are buying for the remainder of 2018. So that's 7 months.
7 months. Per se.
So with that being said,
that's
you have
assuming they
7
update
months.
right away in January, which I
Yes.
doubt.
That's 7 months potentially to acquire everything that's currently being offered by Siege Sacks. Now there's the same with every single game across the entire world, no matter what genre you're playing. If there's prizes to be had, there's people that always want it as quickly as humanly possible. Whether that's to just say that they've collected it all and be happy, or if that's to collect it all and then hit the forums and say, I'm out of stuff to do, give me more. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be someone who wants to do things the fastest and efficient and wants everything in the shortest amount of time possible. So what's happened is the forums have resorted to collecting players that are posting sieges that are all shards, 60 shards in every deck. And honestly, the only way you can attack your own siege is if you're a Kickstarter backer, which kind of even hurts even more because it means that people who've been playing this game for pretty much ever are doing this. You have to make a defense, all shards, attack your own siege, or get with a buddy who's also doing them attack it. Yes, I know you have contract killings in there and all that. I'm fully aware because I'll get to that in a second. Basically, the goal is to have them beat the siege, and by beat I mean basically concede the siege, however many times, X number of times it's decided in advance, I guess. Yeah. So you build up the siege sacks to around 100 or so, whatever the agreed upon amount is, and then you beat it, and you both, get the stuff. And yes, that opens things up to all the lovely I actually sat down and I read an entire forum today. I do not go on the forums for very specific reasons, and I decided since we were going to be talking about this tonight, I had to do it. So I read all 10 pages of comments to that thread. And God, does it get messy. I don't particularly want to talk about it a lot. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. All the prizes are locked to your account, so it's not like the people who are getting the prizes any faster are really getting anything from it except for having the prizes faster, as long as they aren't the people that are just going to jump on the forums in 2 weeks saying, I don't have anything to do now, and bitch to Hex that there's not any content because they gave us content for months.
And you chose to.
And you guys are choosing to accelerate it. So as long as you guys aren't those people, you guys can do this as ever you want. That being said, in the same breath, I have been sitting here for the last 2 hours pressing refresh to snipe the crap out of your siege. I will openly admit it. You guys made a whole new game for me. It's called Take Your Siege Sacks. So it's
take
no
your gold,
more.
Take your sacks.
It's no more against TOS than what you guys are doing. So you just basically made a whole new mini game. The biggest problem, I feel like, the problem is that siege stacks were made for people to get people playing Siege. And though people are playing Siege, you're just playing with yourselves, phrasing, and it's not helping all the other people who aren't in the forums, who are just trying to play this as Siege is meant to be played, and eventually it's just going to kill Siege again. And some people probably don't care about that because they don't think Siege is fun anyway, and they're just going to get their goodies and get out. But the whole point of the sacks was to try to create a better reason to play. And I know, before you jump on me, that Hex isn't perfect and didn't implement this perfectly. There's definitely holes, there's definitely problems. But circumventing the problems to reward yourself without helping the game doesn't solve the problem.
I don't see how a couple people dealing with each other, they're just going off and basically doing their own thing. The people who are doing that don't really want to engage in siege mode for the most part anyway, I don't think. Because the only reason this behavior exists is because the acquisition of siege sacks through normal means is too slow.
Mm-hmm.
And siege mode is not that much fun in its current state. Don't somebody's
Like
gonna,
I said, fair.
somebody's going to stone me for saying that. I've played a fair amount of Siege over the last week, and 1 in 4 times I have fun. There are some great battles where it's really hard fought. It's very back and forth, could go either way, and then there are times I just get slaughtered, and I feel like you have to roll up with the tier 1 deck to even have a hope most of the time. When the mode was initially announced, I thought that it was going to be a good casual friendly mode, some infinitely replayable content. It'd be good for all audiences. I was so wrong. It is so hard. I was so mistaken. You really need to have a very strong deck, and the fact that it's standard, I really hope they revisit that by the time we have another rotation, because losing Hero Fall, was is Bride of the Damned rotating out? Like,
Yep.
I'm gonna lose some of my blood staples, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself anymore. Meanwhile, the pool for on the PVE defense side of things only gets more and more ridiculous. So, it's not a super great experience as the attackers right now. So I really don't blame people for wanting to just kind of get in and get out. That's this whole discussion is why I've called this episode Shards the Defense Builder, because of people building sieges that are mostly shards. But it fascinates me because, just a little bit of background for chat here, when I'm not playing Hex, I play a lot of Xbox, and my gamer score is well over 300,000. I have a lot of achievements. And in Xbox, if you're into getting gamer score, there's a very common practice known as boosting, which is getting your friends together to help each other plow through and get achievements faster than you otherwise would through normal means. For example, crappy first-person shooter with multiplayer achievements. One of them is get 10 grenade kills. You get all your friends in a lobby together. All of your friends group up real close. You throw a grenade, you kill 5 of them in one shot. They all respawn, they all swarm up to the same spot. You throw another grenade, kill them all, boom. Your achievement's unlocked. Now you run into the pile and somebody else gets to throw grenades and blow everybody up. And you keep working your way around until everybody's got the achievement. And then you move on to the next one. I've done this for years. I haven't done it so much lately because I'm more into playing quality games these days. But that's pretty common practice. Nobody cares. Except for, I guess the most pure, hardcore, puritanical folks. You're rooting the spirit of the game. Nobody cares. And so it's fascinating for me to see boosting coming now. That's basically what this is you are boosting for siege sacks because you are artificially inflating the siege sack goal so that you can then rake in your rewards to buy the content faster than you would otherwise have. And that's exactly why this stuff is, I have to assume this is why it's account locked. Personally, I don't care. Go, have fun. Boost your stuff, get out of our ecosystem because you didn't really want to participate in it anyway. I know people are super self-big. It's not terms of service. I don't actually think there's anything illegal about it. I can see them making some changes to acquisition of CSACs and the math because of that, though. My biggest fear is that right now, Siege is one of the, if you can actually win some games, Siege is one of the best ways to get account level XP, because it's 200 for a win, and I can see them nerfing that if they feel that people are cheesing Siege to get XP too fast. But hopefully they don't go that route, because they already have a daily cap on that, to keep somebody from going 1 to 100 and getting hiccups now. 1 to 100 in a day.
The other thing it kind of shows is that if Hex was to look at Siege now as just from a numbers point of view, looks like stupid healthy. You know how much gold they're making from Siege right now? Obviously they don't make gold, but it's just the action that's happening in Siege now makes it look like this huge, thriving, everyone's loving it mode that has no problems, when in reality it only looks like that from a numbers point of view and not from a what we're actually feeling point of view.
That doesn't pass the basic sniff test though when there's 13 full pages of sieges that nobody's fought yet.
Yeah, but if they're just looking at, how many attacks are, how much of that, whatever the percentage is, 12% of gold that they take off the top, like as to the dealer type deal, like just be like, well, they must love it. I guess we don't have to change anything. There's just a couple people complained on the forums, but overall, everyone's just, having a grand old time. As opposed to, boycotting the format and forcing them to actually make a change being what most, things would happen. Like EA, good old EA.
Yeah.
Yell, complain, don't play your game, and eventually, they release the whole game for free for you. So,
when has EA ever released a game for free?
I mean, they they took loot boxes out of Galaxies or whatever it's called, and
they
gave everyone all the stuff.
I don't even want to start on Battlefront 2. They killed that game so
yeah,
bad.
That's the one. They just opened everything for everyone because people complained forever. They took away loot boxes. It's a grand game now. It's fine. The problem is it's too little, too late.
EA needs to have their Star Wars license taken away from them, but that's an entirely separate conversation for another day. But yeah, so short version, Thrawn doesn't care if you boost. I really don't give two craps.
Neither does Manifesto, as long as he's watching.
Yeah, but I have not posted any shard defenses because personally I'm like, I'd like to try to get mine legit, but I just wish people posted easier decks, which I know again the whole goes against the. You could go get the argue the other way. It's against the spirit of the game to make easier sieges because I have all of these tools, and why do I have to lower my standards and pander to you because you can't build good decks, Thrawn? But if my win rate using tier 1 decks wasn't so appalling, I'd be much more happy to play however long it takes to get them all.
Well, I think the idea is supposed to be that based on the number of wins the siege has, the field's supposed to kind of separate itself. Like, if you know you don't have a great attacking deck, maybe you shouldn't click on the one that has 11 wins. And at the same time, reverse. Like, if your deck's super easy, like the people with the really good deck should be going after the really high wins, and the people without the great deck should be going after the smaller win ones. So everyone should be getting play, but since now we have, people fighting themselves, and then that just adds, and there's just so many pages of these stupid things. If everyone who posted defenses also attacked, I think Siege would work. And the sad truth is that's just not how it is. Because it takes almost no time to post a defense.
Yeah,
but no one wants to sit and play. Well, not no one.
Posting this. I have like
far,
3 or 4
far less
decks.
people.
I've been too lazy about making decks. I only have 3 or 4 right now, but I just keep posting the same ones over and over and over again.
So do I. But I also attack a lot. So.
Yeah, if I want to interject here, because this is kind of the perfect point to bring in our one and only Ask Thrawn a Manifesto question of the day. And that came from Malakar again in our thread. Do you think we need a way to filter Siege? Either a way to filter them by criteria or a way to randomize the selection. Otherwise, it seems like you only attack the very top or very bottom decks. And frankly, at least in Malakar's case, it can be hard to choose what to attack. So do you think we need a Siege filter? And by the way, Malakar will get a booster pack for asking in the thread a question that we'll be using on stream. Again, if you don't want this to be General's Tent 2.0 talking heads, submitting stuff is a great idea. Wink, wink. Pure profit there for Malakar. But okay, back to the point. Do we need Siege filters?
I think if you were to add Siege filters, you'd have to also give us a way of finding our deck, and you'd have to. I mean, that comes in with how would you stop people from lying about it? Like, so we have Thrawn Omega over here who loves his thematic decks. They're not as hard to beat. They're fun. You get like a good 4 to 5 sentences of lore between each attack, and it's an experience. It's like dinner and a movie. It's not something you're doing to farm siege stacks. It's something you do for fun. If Thrawn could make his defender deck and check a box that said like thematic adventure, and then you could sort by that, yeah, sorting would be fine. Then that comes to the people like you couldn't have someone with 3 tier 1 decks mark their thing as beginner friendly and just, laugh as people throw themselves into the meat grinder. As of right now, if you're talking about putting a filter on with just names, wins, cost to attack, and rewards, I don't really know what that would achieve.
Well, that's what we have right now is the basic.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like, there's even if you put a filter bar on the top, there's nothing to really filter. You'd have to give us more things to put in, unless you were meant like you really hated playing against people using Bishop Elijah, so you could filter out by like what their champions are using. But then I feel like that opens up a whole other can of worms. Like, it would not be a good idea to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to see a 2-tier approach where you have a tag system where you can check like this is thematic, check. This is this is beginner friendly, check. Or maybe even some kind of restrictions like commons and uncommons only, check, and make like rock sieges or something. So that's step one, is that there's a few different checkboxes in place that you could so the players have different ways to flag their defenses. But then at the same time, you have some kind of rating system or short comment system, and they could go kind of the Dark Souls route with this, where all the comments somebody can leave are pre-generated by the game, so that you don't have to worry about somebody leaving obscenities or what have you. But that way you could rate somebody like, hey, this person makes great content, or to your concern, if somebody puts out a ridiculously hard siege and tags it beginner friendly, you could have some comment like, this person's a liar, and downvote, and sure, that's abusable too, with potential people trying to orchestrate downvote campaigns or whatever if they think my sieges are crap. But
what, you could turn like to Yelp where people just lie and stuff,
right? But I still think that would be a step in the right. Yeah, amazing chest ahead. Strommoor says he knows. Strommoor's played some Dark Souls. I love how the ways people find to get around that mandated comment system. But I think something like that could be a step in the right direction for opening up Siege a little bit.
Easy Siege ahead.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So as much as I would like the filter idea, I feel like you need to put something in even before the filter idea, like what you would be filtering and ways to his messages across.
I lost you for a second.
On paper, it's a good idea.
Thrawn, how about with what you're describing? If someone likes your siege because you put it out as thematic or challenge deck, if they could tip the person, I think that would be great too.
Ooh.
An option. At the end of a siege, rate it, comment. Optional tip button. And either platinum or gold, any amount. It's a tip. It's whatever they want to give you, and then it gets credited right to their account. Maybe give them an in-game message. So and so just tipped you 5,000 gold. It shows up as like a mail in game or something. I think that would be great. 10 out of 10 Crafty Dog. I would support an idea like that.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
Yeah, any
Don't
other
jinx me.
any other burning thoughts on Siege 1 week into this?
No, I don't think so. I think that's pretty much all I really wanted to say about it. I guess we could open it up if chat has any questions that are pertinent, because someone might for this one.
We had one question pre-generated in the forum. So if anybody has anything, probably at Hex Manifesto or at Thrawn Omega is the best way to make us see it. Not at Hex TCG, because that's not us. We just reside here a couple times a week. And so as soon as I say that, Strommoor at Hex TCG, I'm going to blame the chat. I'm going to blame the chat or the stream delay for that. Have you seen Coach's Chrono Demon deck? I have not yet. I'm in the Warden's.
I have.
I'm in the Warden's Discord, but I haven't really Maybe tomorrow because I have the day off, but I haven't actively studied anybody's decks yet. I might do some Hexercise Siege and call that Hexer Siege or some god awful acronym like that. Stream it so y'all can laugh at me while I burn calories and burn gold. Yeah, well, why don't we jump into cards of the week while we see if anybody else has questions they want to throw at us. Does that work for you?
That works for me.
So we are at an hour 5. So let's go Hex Streams. And I got my really long list of sieges here. And sorry, I need to move OBS over and shrink this. And then let's get over into collection. Come on now, game. I believe in you. All right. So I don't have my camera up or anything because we don't need that. What kind of cards are we talking about this week, Manny?
Today on Cards of the Week, we are talking about Sapphire Actions and Quick Actions, which is probably our first really, like, I don't know what exactly you'd call this, but, like, card type matching up with the, like, the shard it's in, because Sapphire is pretty well known to having really good actions in it.
Yep, Sapphire is the shard of shenanigans with actions.
So let's see. And as always, if you guys have not seen the show before, these are not the best combination of card type and threshold. These are our personal favorites. We have 3. Sometimes they're ranked, best to worst. Sometimes it's just 3 random ones to us, but they all have meaning to us. So don't start by just spewing out that card sucks. It's not about its playability or about anything besides we like it.
If it was only best cards, we'd run out of cards to talk about pretty quick. Plus, everybody could probably assume what to expect. Now, while that's going on, again, for Topdeck Radio giveaways, especially with Twitch giveaways extension broken, I don't like doing mass chat giveaways. If you want to win stuff on Topdeck Radio, you need to meet a minimum participation threshold. So today we are giving out a draft code for What's That card. So while we are talking about Sapphire Actions we like, I will be gradually putting up clues to what this card is. If you think you know what the card is, you need to speak up in chat at Thrawn Omega. Let me know what you think the card is. If you are correct, you're to win the draft code. I will need you to give me your in-game name and hex, and I will send that code after our stream is done. So with that, I'm going to put up clue number 1. And Manifesto, what Sapphire action do you want to talk about first?
I'm going to start left of my list to right this time. These are not necessarily in order. The last one is definitely my favorite, but the first 2 were close. And this was actually a really tough one for me because, as I say all the time, I'm a big berry player, or mill, as you might know it. So Sapphire Actions are aplenty in that format. But we're going to start with Chronic Madness. Chronic Madness was probably just like one of my earlier cards that we used in this Cards of the Week. It was one of my early loves. It was an amazing example of don't you dare put that fluffy pink alternate art up there.
This is the true version of Chronic Madness.
It's not true. The dark, sad version is the true version. It is one of the first escalation cards. Escalation was one of the brand new, totally crazy. You couldn't do it in paper card games. It was this digital only thing that blew our minds. And Chronic Madness happens to be the one that just straight up buries your opponent's cards by using the escalation keyword. It was in pretty much every bury deck that existed in PvE or PvP if you were trying to still make that a thing. I'm going to go ahead and just see this real quick. Yeah, even though the alternate art is not my favorite art, I'm an OG original standard art fan. But yeah, Chronic Madness for the win. It also has a sleeve.
I wish I had the sleeve, but I do not. I don't think. All right. So then my first Sapphire action, I wanted to give a shout out to. Why are you not coming up? POL. Here we go. Oh, that's because I'm spelling wrong. Polymorphic Army. If you've watched Dungeon Masters of Entrath for any amount of time, you know that I like to jam this action into any Sapphire deck I can get away with it. This has never seen any constructed meta play due to the randomness inherent with this card, but it's just dumb fun. I adore this card. Polymorphic Army, for our listening audience, it's a 1x quick action, rare from Hero Fall. Transform each troop you control into a random troop with cost X. So I like to build a lot of kind of kitchen table decks that go wide with a lot of different little cheap troops, and then use Polymorphic Army to evolve them into a whole bunch of random massive threats, and then from there smash through to end the game. So, you know, as just kind of a fun card to engage in digital shenanigans with, I adore Polymorphic Army. One of my favorite Sapphire cards, period. So good. But
All right.
I'm gonna put up clue number 2 for what's that card, because nobody has at Thrawn Omega the correct answer yet.
What? We got past the first clue?
We got past the first.
Insanity!
We got past the first clue this week. All right. What's your second card?
Numero dos on my list is a card that does see a good bit of constructed play. Is Weave into Nothing. Weave into Nothing is a 3-cost double Sapphire threshold. Doing this off my head. Interrupt target. I don't know exactly what it says. Target card.
Yep.
Interrupt target card and Fate Weave. Is a quick action from the
Frostheart.
Frostheart set. Yes, there it is. Now it's on the screen. Weave into Nothing is everything a control player had ever wanted and more. Is a little it leveraged its not overpoweredness, but it's all of its good with a double Sapphire threshold instead of a single Sapphire threshold. So it's not guaranteed to get played on 3, especially since in the time that it was a thing, it was mostly played in Diamond Sapphire and not in just Mono Sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
But you're able to interrupt a card, which any Sapphire spell obviously wants to do. It's basically your go-to shard threshold for countering. And on top of that, it gave us that new keyword. Was it new in that set? Was that the first set they did Fate Weave? I don't know if it was the first
Yes,
set, but
I
it
think
gave
it
you
was.
Fate Weave. So you're able to interrupt your opponent while smoothing your card draw over a little bit. If you were a little shy on resources, or if you just needed to, hail up to Kismet for a top decking, this was the card, and I played it so much that there's no way I couldn't have put it in my list. It's just a solid, great, amazing hex card. And it has an alternate art, which is good. You could have used this one's alternate art. But
I don't own this one's alternate
He
art.
doesn't own this one's alternate art card.
That came from a collector deck that I haven't purchased, I think.
Yep.
Let's see here. My second one is, mine is the second very commonly used Sapphire card. We're not, I'm not doing deep cuts here like I was the first one. And this one I do have the correct art for, and that is Lanupaw's Sight. The next action, resource, and troop in your deck gets, when you play this draw card. Sad that this is immortal. If this was still in standard, every Sapphire deck probably would want to run this. It's a little bit of a dual-edged sword. The card does nothing on its own the turn you play it, but you're basically paying for 3 future card draws over time, which can help give you some card advantage. I'm a fan of it, and I love this art that was originally from the Chinese servers, I think, and then brought into the game. Great card, great alternate art from Primal Dawn is what that one was, right? It doesn't show the... Yeah. So, awesome card. But then what is your final card? And while you bring up your final card that can't rotate out of standard soon enough, you filthy awful human being, I'm going to bring up our third and final clue, and this one's the giveaway. So if people don't start chiming
Fast
in for a
fingers.
draft code now, I swear I don't know how more obvious I could make it without like literally showing you the card art for clue number 3. But yeah, so tell us about the crazy
Card number
your
3
crazy card.
is a fan favorite across the land. No one hates this card. Everyone loves it. Everyone wants to play it. Every card wants to be it. That is Psychic Ascension. Psychic Ascension is a 15, right? Sorry, yeah, 15 cost, double Sapphire Threshold, basic action. It's a legendary from Hero Fall. You transform into a Paragon of Thoughts. When you play an action, if this is in your deck or hand, it gets cost -1. Let's just be honest, guys. Psychic Ascension is the best Sapphire action ever made by Hex. For all the reasons you could hate it, it's all the reasons why it's amazing. This card, just as much as as much as we loved Escalation and all the cool things Hex can do, this really brought out some like everything that you can do in the digital format that you can't do in paperback. Not only can the cost of the card change from anywhere in the game by playing specific cards, other Sapphire actions, but when you play the card, your whole champion actually changes. You become an entire different champion. Your charge power changes. Charge power becomes, create a random spell that you have the thresholds for, and when you play any spell, summon a random troop that has the same cost, I believe, right? And yeah, that's it's so strong. It's seen meta play. It's gone in and out of favor in meta. It was in Diamond Sapphire Control. Some people have been trying to play it out as cheating it out with what's her face? Flayed Man?
Scribe of the Flayed Man.
Scribe of the Flayed Man, thank you. I will be extremely sad when this rotates out. And Immortal should be even more scared when it rotates into Immortal, because I feel like if someone doesn't make some sweet Psychic Ascension Immortal deck, like, what world are we living in? Like, it just has to happen.
Psychic Ascension could only get better over time, too, as there's more and more potential actions for it to go off of.
It's like a fine whiskey. Every year it sits, it's just going to get better and better.
Strom War is our winner for this week's What's That card. Strom, I need you to let me know in chat what your Hex in-game name is, so that after the stream I can send you a draft code. But the card was, for those who did not catch, Fleeting Memories.
Fleeting Memories.
2 cost, basic action, draw a card, then each champion discards a card. So here's the little beads that were clue number 1. Clue number 2 was a piece of the Coyote tent, and then clue number 3 was kind of Void Star's third eye thing going on in her face.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
See, pick a card that's not actively in the meta and doesn't see a whole ton of play, and you make people work for it a little bit more.
I also didn't know Strom War was Airtron, and I was definitely trying to snipe him a second ago.
Oh, yeah. And Strom War's going to be happy to know that a certain clip of his is going to be making an appearance a little bit later tonight.
Oh. Also, for anyone up for an actual challenge in Siege, Romos has an 11-win actual real. I already checked it. It's a real Siege. So if someone wants a challenge, we got an 11-winner streak on right now. 150 sacks. Costs you 1,800 gold to enter.
Yep. So yeah, for folks who may be newer to watching Topdeck Radio, yes, when we do What's That card and I show little fragments of a card art on screen, I'm showing you pieces of what a real Hex card's art is, and you need to try to figure out which card it is that I cut up in pieces, and I'm showing off there. And so my last card for the week is one that has made me salty many a time in Limited, because this just wrecks me. and that is Prison of the Mind. It is an uncommon from Doombringer, X cost, single sapphire threshold, stun up to X target troops. That is just such a tempo bomb to be able to take a turn and basically lock down your opponent's board, swing through for crushing damage, and then their troops don't ready the next turn. So now they're locked and vulnerable again for you to just crush through and finish the job. And this card is single-handedly like won numerous different games that I've seen. You know, I've been on the wrong end of this card a lot in limited. So if you're in draft and you're drafting Sapphire, seriously, I would pick this card very, very, very highly if I think I'm going into Sapphire. It's insanely good. I almost feel like this card could have been rare, is how good I think Prison of the Mind is. I love it.
I'm actually really surprised that that card doesn't see any standard play at all. Like,
I think it might see somebody. Yeah, it's very limited, which surprises me because this card is so good.
I mean, if it was just exhaust, I would get it. But the fact that you're stunning, so you can play it before your attack phase, swing, and then your next turn, you know nothing's going to untap. It just seems
right. You have
very strong.
You have no fear of the crackback because, yeah, it's basic, not quick, which could be part of it. But
that's true. I mean, if it gets, because you have to commit the resources to it before you cast it. If it gets countered, you could be in a pretty bad spot. But on the other hand, if it gets countered, you just don't swing in. Like, as long as you do it before your attack phase. I don't know. We're not here to brew decks, though. Could be, but we're not.
Yeah.
So that's your last card.
That's us. That's our cards of the week. So, did we get in your? I don't know if you got in what you wanted to say, or if you want to circle back to this. Your hot take of the week. Do you have anything you wanted to add about siege mode?
Oh no, I think we covered siege.
You got your piece in there.
I made my piece.
Okay.
I would just like. I mean, mine and yours, it all comes together where we just need some official something. We need them to say what is working as intended, what's not working as intended. Are you considering changing siege? Is this just what we have? Make peace with it. Like, where are we? Where should our expectations be placed right now? And it's my hot take. It's your hot take. It's pretty much everyone who's playing Hex's hot take. That we just need to know what you're thinking. What are you guys thinking?
Right.
We just want to know. We just want to read your journal. We want to stay up at night and, we want to know what's on your mind.
By the way, I have to, I'm going to pop back into Hex. A certain... Oh, no. Okay. Filter weave.
You broke it.
I did break it. A certain Hex Fairy sent me a playset of Weave Into Nothing here, so I can show off the true art of this card. Thank you, Nero Genius, aka Mr. Generous, whose Momentum deck my BFF is now playing to get back into Hex.
Weave Into Nothing also, the alternate art also has something in it that was my close to what I picked instead of Weave Into Nothing, which is Playtime. It's got the teddy bear in it as well. Playtime is also a super fun Sapphire card that just makes your opponent have to make just one really big decision, which is just real fun. Real fun to do.
Playtime. I think I can pull that up too. Yep. So when do you think we're ever going to get the lore on this kid?
Next set. For sure.
Next set or after the Frostring Saga? Like set 12?
I don't know. I guess it depends on how long they plan on having the cultists around.
I made a joke alternate art version of this card where I took out that art and I replaced it with the jigsaw puppet from Saw. The flavor text was, "Would you like to play a game?"
Yeah,
it's kind of how that card feels with folks.
I guess we know about every other member of the cult city except for that kid, right? Because we learned who the Coyote was last set. And
yeah, they teased
that's true.
a long time ago.
Maybe
Chaos Touch they teased a long time ago a Chaos Touch dungeon focused around the kid in upcoming campaign content, if we ever get to said campaign content, Kappa. Pretty much. But any final thoughts you want to get into before we go into shameless plugs? And after shameless plugs, we do have one plays of the week, and we do have one Hex Bash match to show off. I'm going to need to take a short bathroom intermission before that, but any final thoughts or shameless plugs, Manifesto, for our recorded audio portion of events?
No more thoughts. I think we got out a good bit on tonight's show. As far as shameless plugs, I'm Hex_Manifesto pretty much everywhere. You can at that on Twitter. You can search that on Twitch. You can search it on Instagram, and you will find, my dumb looking face or my dumb looking videos, and you can come hang out when I'm not here.
And I, of course, am Thrawn. You will be able to catch me tomorrow on the official channel as well. Same bat time, same bat channel. We're doing Dungeon Masters of Entrath, which, like Siege, it is a best of 1 3-game gauntlet. And you get prizes based on how many wins you get. And the best part is, unlike Siege in game, it doesn't cost you anything to play. It's pure value. Thanks to some folks who've donated some prizes to help me out with that. Otherwise, the prizes for that are all funded out of my own pocket. Just because I want to play some wacky kitchen table Hex and, engage in some shenanigans. I am also going to be doing more Hexercise streams where I stream from a treadmill. And like I said earlier in the stream, I plan to do one of those daytime tomorrow because I have the day off. So that's going to be fun, but that's all I got for today. So awesome. I'm going to go ahead and wish our podcast audience a good night here, and we'll catch you next week.